Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari says he has done his best in 7.5 years. Senate confirms Adamu Ahmed as CBN deputy governors, plus U.S. lawmakers propose bill to ban TikTok. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us on the news. First in our stories this afternoon features Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari saying despite the many challenges facing Nigeria, he has done his best since he assumed office in May 2015. The president, who stated this in Washington while welcoming the Secretary General of the Abu Dhabi Forum, Sheikh Al Mahfoud bin Bayer, and his deputy Bob Roberts of the United States, said the work of the foundation in promoting multi-faith dialogue was an importance to the world as it was. The president also spoke on the need to raise generations of youth devoid of religious extremism and bigotry, as young people are the promise of the future. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has restated the Nigerian government's target of generating 30 gigawatts of electricity by 2030. Buhari said this during a discussion panel on just energy transition at the ongoing U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C. The president, who outlined the comprehensive energy transition plan of his administration in response to issues associated with climate change, further explained that the Nigerian government had embarked on several reforms, including mini-grid regulations, as well as the integration of renewable energy into the national businessmen and the global community to tap into the innovation and potential returns in Nigeria's enormous market, which is yet to be fully optimized. In the meantime, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is presiding over the Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House, Abuja. This week's FEC has at least 7 ministers physically present and others falling from their various offices in Abuja. In attendance are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustapha, Zainab Ahmed, and Power Abubakar Aliyu, among other ministers. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, is not attending the meeting as he is away in Washington, D.C., USA, for the United States-Africa Leaders Summit. Moving away from that now, the federal government has inaugurated a project steering committee for the concession of the 650 megawatts hydropower plant in Makurdi, Benue State. The government said the plant, when completed, would not only address the energy shortfall across the country, but would also mitigate flooding in many parts of Nigeria. According to the statement by the head of Public Communications, Bureau of Public Enterprises, Ibe Chidi, the Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, disclosed this during the inauguration of the committee in Abuja. Also speaking, the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, urged all. We move now to the legislature, where the Senate has passed the 2023 budget of the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) following the presentation by the Committee on Communications. The lawmaker representing Yobe South, Ibrahim Bommai, who laid and presented the report, stated that the NCC 2023 budget of 559.08 billion naira was made up of total recurrent expenditure of 89.7 billion naira, capital expenditure of 5.2 billion naira, and special project of 35 billion naira. The committee budget defense to the Joint National Assembly, Executive Secretary of Nigerian Communications Commission, Professor Umar Dambata, explained that the 2023 budget anticipated the deployment of 5G, which would offer greater network flexibility and translate into improved quality of service and the government.
My name is Ibrahim Mohammed Bomai, representing Yobe South. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Communication on the 2023 budget proposal for the Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC. I so move.
And this is the recommendation of the committee. The sum of 559 billion 80 million 711,000 only is hereby recommended for approval as the Nigerian Communications Commission's budget for the year 2023. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The recommendation is on page 3. The sum of 16 billion naira only is hereby recommended for approval as the Universal Service Provision Funds budget for the year 2023. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay.
Nigeria CBN Edward Lamatek Adamu for the position of Deputy Governor of the nation's Apex Bank to complete another tenure in office. Also confirmed by the Senate is the CBN Deputy Governor Aisha Ndanusa Ahmed for the second and last time in that position. The confirmation of Adamu and Ahmed by the Senate was sequel to the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions presented by the Chairman, Senator Uba Sani, APC, Kaduna Central. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a Standards Organization of Nigerian Act 2015 Amendment Bill, which seeks to empower the quality assurance body to certify petroleum products imported into the country. Leading the debate at the second reading, Mesa Ogun said the bill, when passed into law, will enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of the Standards Organization of Nigeria in ensuring the quality of print reading. About 10 months ago, after the importation of adulterated PMS into Nigeria, which caused a disruption in the supply chain of the products in the country. The batch, which was supplied under the direct sale, direct supply oil swap deal between the federal government and oil suppliers, was not tested for prohibited methanol at the point of entry. In the judiciary, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Tosho, has warned judges against dancing to the tunes of desperate politicians as they handle election-related cases in 2023. He told the judges to ensure that pending pre-election cases are concluded within the stipulated time. Justice Tosho issued a warning in Abuja during the opening of the 38th Annual Judges Conference, commending the judges for their understanding and unwavering commitment in the handling of pre-election cases. Justice Tosho said the conference was intended to examine issues confronting the court and find solutions to them. Away from that, the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, has stated that its enrollment verification and other identification systems are working optimally. It also noted that the National Identification Number NIN has become mandatory to access all government services. It further reassured Nigerians of the provision of top-notch identification services in line with the government's efforts at providing reliable, sustainable and verifiable foundational identification system for all Nigerians and legal residents. In the same vein, NIMC stated that enrollment, warning the public to report any such case to the appropriate quarters. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has expressed concern over the collection of permanent voter cards in Akwa Ibom State, saying that the exercise was slow. The INEC National Commissioner, May Mbu, raised the concern in Uyo during the INEC Akwa Ibom Stakeholders Forum in preparation for the 2023 general elections. She, therefore, appealed to all stakeholders, especially political parties, to act was making steady progress in other critical areas in preparation for the elections, including the provision of sensitive and non-sensitive materials, the recruitment of ad hoc staff, and the planning for the movement of personnel and materials for the elections. In her report, the State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Cyril Omorogbe, noted that the forum became important as it afforded the stakeholders the opportunity to exchange ideas on how to achieve a free, fair, and credible elections in 2023. He, however, assured the people that the Commission would make sure nobody was disenfranchised as far as the collection of PVCs. He has announced the postponement of the presidential campaign rally it planned to hold in Ekiti and Ondo states. According to a statement, the party blamed unavoidable and unusual circumstances beyond its control. The LP, however, promised to announce new dates for its rally in the states. This comes a day after its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and his running mate Baba Ahmed Datti moved their campaign train to Kogi State. And we move now to Africa, where Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has urged African countries to stop begging from the West in order to end global respect and change poor perception about the continent. Akufo-Addo made the remarks during the opening of the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C., noting that if Africa spends her money inside the continent, Africa will get the respect she deserves. Akufo-Addo's remark came as the International Monetary Fund has agreed to give Ghana a $3 billion loan to alleviate an unprecedented economic downturn in the West African country. According to reports, nearly 50 African leaders and delegates are in Washington, D.C. for a key summit hosted by President Biden. It is the centerpiece of a major effort to reset and improve U.S. ties with African countries whose relations with China and increasingly Russia have drawn scrutiny. And elsewhere, the ruling party in South Africa, African National Congress Party, which holds a majority in the parliament, largely stood with President Ramaphosa, preventing the motion from getting the two-thirds vote needed to proceed with his impeachment. Opposition leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, has criticized the move and vowed to go to court. Another opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, faulted members of the ruling party for shielding Ramaphosa from facing justice over corruption allegations and said it is a sad day for democracy and the parliament. Reports say at least 4 ANC lawmakers broke ranks with the party lines and voted along with the opposition parties in favor of the impeachment process. This is as other law enforcement agencies are still probing the matter.
Today is a sad day in South Africa where Parliament sits to reject a report that is of their own initiative. They have spent not less than 6 million on doing those investigations and just decided to throw that 6 million into a bin. It's a sad day for the Constitution of South Africa, for the democracy of South Africa. We think there is no rational reason why we came to a conclusion we came to, and as a result we are going to court to challenge this decision of Parliament.
This is the same old ANC that rallied around and protected and shielded Jacob Zuma from accountability, just as they've rallied around the president today. There was no harm in the report going forward. The President would have been given ample opportunity to state his case, to point the deficiencies of the report, and instead the ANC have just simply shut this down to prevent any further progress on it.
And still to come in the news, Morocco to face France tonight for semi-finals World Cup in Qatar. To stay with us. And many thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. On the foreign scene, the Ukrainian city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, says explosions were heard in the center of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, early today, noting that the air defense had shot down 10 Iranian-made Shahed drones early on Wednesday. Kyiv Governor Oleksiy Kuleba, who said air defense systems are at work, noted that the blast rocked the central Sichenkivsky district and emergency services has been dispatched. Russia has repeatedly targeted Ukrainian energy infrastructure since October with missiles and drones. And still on the foreign scene, lawmakers of the United States Senate have introduced a bill to ban the use of the popular social media platform TikTok in the country. One of the bill's sponsors, Republican Senator Marco Rubio of the Senate Intelligence Committee, stated that the app was not just about creating videos, but it served as a major tool in the hands of the Chinese government to obtain sensitive data from Americans. According to reports, the proposed legislation in general is aimed at protecting Americans from the threats posed by certain foreign adversaries using current or potential future social media companies that those foreign adversaries control to surveil Americans, learn sensitive data about. Over now to a business news where Nigeria's import from Russia has crashed significantly, hitting its lowest this year as the war in Ukraine persists. The Foreign Trade Report of the National Bureau of Statistics for the third quarter of 2022 release has shown that only 1.71 trillion naira worth of goods were imported from Russia in the quarter, amounting to a decline of 92.17% from the 21.84 billion naira imports. Reko Akpan Eko had said if the conflict between Russia and Ukraine persisted, Nigeria's imports from the two countries might be affected, adding that this would likely lead to inflation and more hardship for Nigerians. Meanwhile, Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of the failed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, has been denied bail by George in the Bahamas. Bahamas Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt denied the petition for his release on bail, citing a great risk of flight, and ordered that he be kept on remand at a correctional facility until 8 February. U.S. authorities charged Bankman-Fried with one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history on Tuesday. Security and Exchange Commission Secretary Chair Gray Gensler has said the ex-FTX boss built a house of cards on the foundation of deception. Meanwhile, Bankman-Fried has indicated that he will fight extradition to the U.S. We move to health, where Hong Kong has announced that it would no longer require residents to use a scanning app to enter venues, and that overseas arrivals could now visit bars and restaurants from the moment they land in a further easing of COVID-19 restrictions. Hong Kong authorities confirmed they were keeping a host of other rules, including mandatory PCR checks for overseas arrivals, daily testing of school children, and compulsory mask wearing. The latest measures come as authorities in mainland China navigate a rapid turn away from its zero-tolerance coronavirus strategy. And still in health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has seized on. The agency made the seizures during a raid in 26 shops at the Sabongeri market in Zaria local government area of the state. The seizure were microgynon drugs meant to be distributed free to internally displaced persons and oxytocin injections for women who delivered, which required a specific temperature to be stored, but were found in the open. Addressing newsmen after the raid, the Deputy Director of the Charge of Investigation and Enforcement Directorate of NAFDAC Kaduna Office, Tamanua Andrew, said the continuous exercise was aimed at reading markets of substandard and falsified medicines. In sports now, and ahead of the historic semi-finals game against defending champions France at the ongoing World Cup in Qatar, former England striker of Nigerian descent, John C., has backed Morocco to beat Les Bleus and progress to the final of the competition, but to becoming the first African nation to reach the semis. And still in sports, Randolph Ross, one of the team's member of the United States Olympic gold-winning 4x400-meter squad, has been banned for 3 years for faking an email to doping bosses. After missing 3 appointments with the testers in a year, the 21-year-old said an automatic email from the whereabouts system showed he had given new details. Ross has admitted to the Athletics Integrity Unit ARU that he had doctored the email. Reports say the 2-time American Collegiate Champions medal from 2021's Tokyo Olympics and those of his teammates are unaffected as they fall. On our entertainment news, Megan Thee Stallion has sued a Los Angeles court that Canadian rapper Tory Lanez offered her 1 million naira not to tell police he had shot her feet. Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, denies a raft of charges relating to a 2020 dispute with the rap queen, including assault with a semi-automatic firearm and using a firearm to inflict great bodily injury. The WAP hitmaker said she had been in a car with Jenner's Hollywood home in July of that year when an argument erupted leading to the gunshot. The trial in downtown Los Angeles earlier heard how a gun that was still warm to the touch was found on the floor near where Lanez had been sitting. Lanez and Harris both subsequently tested positive for gunshot residue, a prosecutor said. And that's all we have for you at this moment. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms and ensure to subscribe to your YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. My name is Janice Cobham. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.